Yes, hello everyone, welcome to the Etihad. It's a bit noisy because we've literally just come out of the stadium at full time, so apologies if you hear there's a band playing literally next to us. Johnny's that cold, he's drinking a cuppa. We've just finished off the match reaction, he's currently uploading that in a minute, but this is the last word. Johnny, let's go to the lineups. The big question was all week, would he change it from Wembley? He did, but it wasn't what we're thinking.
No, certainly wasn't. I think Isak was the man who wanted to start, didn't start. Callum Wilson was given another opportunity. Point to prove, maybe you can kind of see that side of things, but I would have started Isak today. It's getting to the stage now where Isak has to start games of football for Newcastle United. We've paid a lot of money for him, and we need him to start. But other players, Anthony Gordon was given an opportunity, Jamal Lascelles because Fabian Schär got injured. So in terms of the team, I was a bit worried, but in terms of what I've just seen, I thought the team put a shift in, so I can't really complain with the lineup too much.
Probably one of our best benches for a long time, considering if you look at last week against Man United, our bench were limited, and now we had 3 or 4 options today, so that's probably a positive. But look, Manchester City have got abundance of talents. They're 15 years ahead of us. You look around us here and everything around it, they're way ahead of us. We'll get there one day, but on the pitch there's still a different level for me. But let's get into it then. I remember at the top of my head, Gundogan had a great header. I'm nearly knocking your phone flying.
Nearly got the ratchet.
Gundogan had a free header, I think he should have scored. Haaland, I think, had another one as well. I think he should have scored. I think that was in the second half, I think. But I don't feel there was, the first half, there was a lot of chances from both sides. We'll come to Phil Foden's goal in a minute. But Newcastle's best chance, and I also think it's also in the second half, thank you for that, was also similar with Joe Linton. Well, but in the first half it was Callum Wilson. The cross comes in, and it's so unlike him because he hits thin air, and it's, for me, if you hit it on target, that's in.
Yeah, of course it is. Those are the small chances you get at the Etihad. You don't get many, and the thing is, you'd want Callum Wilson in that position. Do you know, rather than a Miguel Morón or a Saint-Maximin, you kind of almost want him in there, which is the more frustrating thing. But yeah, you've got to at least get that shot on target, and it just kind of just drifted off and just bobbled off him. But it is one of those things, like, that just sums up Callum Wilson at the minute for Newcastle, that opportunity. Because if that's Callum Wilson pre-World Cup,
chance.
If that's pre-World Cup, he at least gets that on target.
Best chance. I know Johnny's going to fight the argument that we played well, but look, the goal, and it's not the first time that we've seen Dan Burn get rinsed. For me, I've got to point the finger at Dan Burn at this, I have to, because he gets skinned off Phil Foden. It's like little boy versus a giant, and little boys on the low sense of gravity just burst past Dan Burn. He's coming into the box. You don't want to take him down because you run the risk of a penalty. It's so unfortunate. It's deflected. I think it was Sven Botman. Pope's already diving one way and Man City go 1-0 up. But if you look at that as a collective, do you have to? I'm pointing the finger at Dan Burn. I think it's time for Matty Targett to have a run in the side now. And if you want to move Dan Burn into centre back, cool. I'm all for that. But left back, is there a small grown problem? A small grown problem there. If that's the right terminology I'm using.
There's an issue there, isn't there? There certainly is. But
is his form just a bit off?
Possibly, but you've got to remember who he's up against. And I understand where you're coming from the goal, and I do blame Dan Burn to an extent. But there's 3 other players that could kick him as soon as he gets past Dan Burn. You've got Bruno Guimaraes who can't get to him. I don't know if it was Joe Linton, but it was 2 midfielders couldn't get close to him. And then when he gets into the box, it's a bit unfortunate, the deflection. But there's been chances to stop him before he even gets to that situation. But Dan Burn is obviously the first person to do that. I feel sorry for Dan Burn because he's not a left back, but he's been brilliant for the majority of the time that he has been a left back.
I agree on that.
So it's a difficult one, but I think maybe it is the time maybe for Matty Targett to get a run of games, but he needs minutes. He needs game time, and you can't just give him 5 minutes against Man City. Do you take the chance of starting him against Wolves? Maybe, who knows? But that
for me, you do.
There's an argument, but again, this is even though we've conceded another 2 goals today, we've still conceded the least amount of goals in the Premier League, 17 goals. So this defence is a good defence on paper for what you've seen so far this season. but it's not just the defence that's having an off day, the strikers having an off day, and that's why we're picking on these little, not minute, but obviously big moments in the game, but these small issues, if you like, in the general grand scheme of things.
I agree. The defence has Newcastle where it is in the league at the minute, but the signs there from Dan Burn, who's obviously the calibre of opposition is way high. I think it tells you a lot of stuff as we go into half-time 1-0 down. But I know I'm jumping ahead, but it tells you a lot that we're playing Liverpool and the two Manchester clubs. Newcastle are not at that level for me. Liverpool are underneath us, but they're on momentum. We're the other scale. I think we've only won once this year, and we're into the beginning of March, so disappointing to concede, but you know, we played well in spells, having the ball. Joe Linton for me looked nice and tidy the first half, but we went in half time 1-0 down. You're thinking, if you can stay in the game as long as you can. He's not being ignorant, he is uploading the match. He is.
Just waiting in the comments, I'm actually doing something that he wants me to do, so that's it.
So we're 1-0 down, but we'll come in the second half. I think Haaland has the header before the triple sub, so I know I've jumped a little bit, but Haaland should be scoring that. That was his best chance, and I thought Jamal Lascelles actually handled him pretty alright, to be fair.
So you've got to give Jamal Lascelles credit today, him and Botman.
Passing was all over though.
It was, but in terms of stopping Haaland, 27, 28 goals in the Prem, he's had one real good opportunity in my boot today against this Man City team. Fair play to them.
Yeah, and he should have scored his header, but Botman had an off day today. His passing was shocking today, and that triple substitution, because I think that spell of 5-6 minutes decides the game. So the triple sub, you know, back in the Bobby Robson days, Bobby would do this, and it was Willock, it was Alan Saint-Maximin, and Isak came on, Callum Wilson off, Anthony Gordon off, and Sean Longstaff off as well. For me, I think that's probably right, but we had a bit of a bounce, didn't we, because it lifted the crowd, because we were a little bit lull, it lifted the crowd down. But that 5 minutes before we come to City goal, there was a bit of, you know, urgency. We had it back in the game.
I thought start the second half to when we actually finished. I actually thought we started pretty well. I thought we arguably started the better team. As a bit of Sam Fender is in Manchester.
Sam Fender.
But in all seriousness, I honestly
just if YouTube are listening, that's not really Sam Fender.
It's certainly not.
We'll get hit with copyright on that.
Exactly. In all seriousness, no. I thought the start of the second half to when Man City scored, there's an argument that they scored against the run of play.
They did.
And I think Newcastle just had that big opportunity just before Man City scored their second. And Alan Saint-Maximin, for me, have a fucking shot. Have a shot. What you doing when that ball gets crossed in?
Thank you.
And when that ball gets crossed in, and he takes another about 5, 6, 7 touches away from goal, have a shot. Take one touch max, have a shot. But and it just shows the small little details. If you don't take that opportunity, at least have a shot, and no one will have a groan at you. Eddie Howe won't have a go at you. And then you see what happens at the other end. They have one opportunity by a mistake from ourselves, and then it's game over.
Whose mistake was it? Because I haven't seen that bad.
Kieran Trippier, unfortunately, and this is the. I've seen the highlights as I was.
Oh, when he's out of position.
Oh no, he's not out of position. He gives the ball away, and he gives the ball away. Jack Grealish and. I believe it was Jack Grealish.
Yeah, it was Grealish, yeah.
Literally 2 or 3 passes later, lovely little flick from Haaland, and Bernardo Silva's like stretching, but with a left toe.
Should anybody be picking him up, Silva, because he's free?
A little bit, but
nitpicking.
It's a great finish. Nick Pope, for me, he's not really had much to do on the whole game, and it's a deflected shot, and then a great finish. But it's just so frustrating because at 1-0 with Isak on, with Saint-Maximin on, with Willock, who's a bit more attacking minded than Sean Longstaff, Newcastle was certainly in the game, and I think Man City were nervous a little bit. You could sense it in the crowd. You could kind of sense there was a bit of a nervous atmosphere for a good 5-10 minutes, and it just went from like nervous to all right, we're 2 points behind Arsenal now, because that goal was a killer.
It was, and for me, Newcastle aren't going to score 2 goals.
Are we going to score one of them in this? Are we going to score one?
We're not scoring, and that's a bigger problem. But Jacob Murphy come on and look bright again. He did against Man United, and we're not his biggest fans, but a couple of great crosses, and that's what we're asking. Fucking cross the ball, and that's what you get from Murphy on the right, whereas Miggy doesn't. And similar to the first half, Callum Wilson scuffs it in. Murphy has a cross on the right, it falls to Joe Linton, and he's exactly the same. It's like fucking hell, man. But yes, Manchester City made a couple of substitutions. Matt Target, as we touched upon, got 5 minutes. Newcastle's first shot on target came in the 90th minute, which was a weak free kick, which Edison, not to lie, Edison had to save Isak's shot as well, didn't he? The block a little bit earlier as well.
That was the, do you know this?
That was that spell before the Silva.
Yeah, it was the spell, and it kind of galvanised the crowd a little bit in terms of the away end. But this is what Isak brings, and I know there'll be loads of people in the comments saying, why is Isak not starting? Why is Isak not starting? I honestly don't know. That's the question you have to kind of ask Eddie Howe, and I think that question will be asked again before Wolves next week. So it's a big week for Newcastle next week, and I know we're talking about the Man City game, but this run needs to end.
2-0 ended, and it goes to show you, like the two Manchester clubs, that we've been in the game, but it's the final third where they Man United last week and today again, because as they say, Nick Pope didn't have much to do today. Karius was busier last week, but here is Eddie Howe.
Yeah, I thought we were well in the game today. I thought it was a similar performance to last week in many respects, where I thought we were good in the game, very dynamic in our play. We were aggressive, good with the ball, hurt them at times, but couldn't put that final piece together. I think we're disappointed with the first goal, although you have to say he took it very well. There's certainly stuff for us to reflect on, but minimal chances for them today. I thought we kept them relatively quiet. That the world-class team, they're always going to have opportunities, but I thought we minimised their threat. The general performance has been very good. I think when we came here last year, the result was difficult for us, and you saw a real gap between the teams. I don't think that's been there this season, although they've still got players that can really make the difference. So there's still growth for us to get closer to Manchester City.
So that was Eddie Howe. Obviously he's disappointed, Johnny, but I want to bring that up again. I said to you off camera before, for me, the 3 substitutes that came on today start next week, and I'd also bring in Matty Target.
Certainly an argument for it. We haven't got Joe Linton. He's suspended next week because he picked up his 10th yellow card. So is that him missing 2 games now potentially? So he might miss the Wolves and Nottingham Forest. So Joe Linton's not going to be available until after the international break. So can we try a new formation, or can we try 4-2-3-1 and try and get the best out of our attacking players? The argument will always be there for Dan Burn to be taken out of the team. But Kieran Trippier isn't playing great at the minute. That's another mistake. I don't want a panic, because I don't think it's a panic moment for Newcastle, but I just think it's just a reset. We just need a reset. Right, forget about it. The cup final's happening. We can't do anything about that now. Okay, forget about it. And to kind of almost forget about today, because we weren't expected to get anything. But Wolves at home next week, go right. I would probably give this defence one more game, because I think against Wolves at home, I still think this defence can.
And I will make Traore against Dan Burn.
Well, it might not be Traore. I think he's on the bench today. But and I get what you mean, though. But look, Traore's not as good as Foden. I know pace-wise there's a big contrast. However, I would still give this defence one more
so
time.
Good. The sound of silence.
Should have gone in that ground for the home crowd for about 87 minutes of the game. But look, for me, put Bruno and Sean together, because Joe Linton's suspended. Put Isak up top, or you could even move Bruno as just slightly more forward, and put Willock and Longstaff in that middle. And then you've got a decision to make with Almiron, Gordon and Saint-Maximin. At the minute, no one's really going, I should be starting for me. I thought Gordon didn't really take his chance today. He had one shot that went over the crossbar. Saint-Maximin for me, frustrating, very frustrating, but Wolves at home might be the game for him. Almiron, very quiet again.
Yeah, he was very poor today, Almiron. That could be, and I said off camera on the way down when we were driving, sometimes it's all right to bench a player for 1 or 2 games, because you get the best out of him. You want a reaction from it as well. But look, it's frustrating, because really this is the first time going back since Eddie Howe took over where we're in a run of bad form. Eddie Howe obviously inherited a poor side, and it didn't really kick in till January last year, and this is now, without a shadow of a doubt, it's a testing time for Eddie Howe. And we've had the owners come out speak earlier this week saying, they want to go and win Champions Leagues and everything and all that. And Newcastle have got to qualify for that first, and all eyes are looking elsewhere. Results, and we're relying on other teams at the moment. Yes, we've got 2 games in hand. This was a free hit, if you want to call it that. But I agree with Johnny. I think it's not a must-win, and it's not a panic station. But Newcastle have got to start winning games. But more importantly, we've got to either look at Isak or change the system for me.
These 2 games that we've got, Wolves and Forest, we should be targeting minimum 4 points, in my opinion. There's no reason that this team, what we've seen today, in spells of this game, can't beat Wolves at home and can't beat Nottingham Forest away, from what I've seen in the last
If we want Champions League football, we have to win both.
Probably right. But it's a big opportunity. Look, start again. You've got 13 games left this season. We don't, obviously, we're filming before Wolves, Tottenham and Liverpool, Man United, of course. But let's see what happens. Let's see where we are after the international break. And then it's game on. 11 games to go. Let's see where we are. How far are we away from the rest? Because we're probably not going to be in the top 4 before the international break unless results change. But just give it our best shot. Worst case scenario was we get Europa League football potentially, or Conference League football. We'd have killed for that at the start of the season.
Can't wait to go to Liechtenstein, Lithuania, and Georgia. Feeling worried about my hotel door getting banged and all sorts. But we'll wrap up here because the music stopped. Everyone's heading off home. We're heading off back home as well. Make sure you go back and have a look at the match vlog and also Johnny's match reaction as well. But from the two of us at the Empty Had, we shall see you all very soon.